Penal colony prisoners in outdoor cages, Ushuaia. Volunteers promised reduced sentences to build a civilian jail. The founding stone was laid in 1902 in sight of the Beagle Channel shores. Rangoon, Burma. Prisoners working a treadmill in jail. Photographed by Watts and Skeen, 1990s. Sarajevo, 1941. A Muslim woman covers the yellow star of her Jewish neighbor with her veil. Protection in plain sight. Children heading to a 12-hour night shift in the United States, 1908. Child labor before child protection. People on display at the Coney Island Human Zoo, 1904. Human beings exhibited as entertainment. Two homeless men squatting in the shadow of the recently completed World Trade Center, 1975. Poverty beneath progress. The Gadget, the first atomic bomb, 1945. Before Hiroshima, before Nagasaki, this is where it started. A prison cell doorway with an inmate seated inside. Photographed by Jacob Riis on Blackwell's Island, now Roosevelt Island, New York, circa 1888 to 1898. Scaffold scene following the trial of the Lincoln assassination conspirators. Witnesses gathered around the yard. Washington, D.C., July 7, 1865. Emperor Maximilian I of Mexico, photographed after his final moments, resting in a coffin. Mexico, 1867. Outdoor gallows structure built near the Forsyth County Poorhouse, Forsyth County, North Carolina, circa 1894. Chain gang prisoners and guards posed in front of a wooden building, Thomasville, Georgia, early 1900s. Ward for women in a British mental hospital, rows of beds, patients housed inside. Prison cell at Carleton County Jail, 1895, bare walls, iron bars, confined space. A man seated in a restraint chair, photographed by H. Clark, 1869. This was standard care for mental health patients. Iron lung ward at Rancho Los Amigos Hospital. Rows of patients inside metal cylinders. Polio treatment kept them breathing, but confined. 6 images showing plastic surgery progression on a World War I soldier with severe facial injuries, likely Walter Yeo, treated by Dr. Harold Gillies in 1917, from injury to reconstructed appearance. Child labor at a cotton mill in North Pownell, Vermont, photographed by Lewis Hine. Children working machines instead of attending school. Migrant mother, Nipomo, California, photographed by Dorothea Lange during the Great Depression, the face of American hardship. Laura Nelson and her son, victims of racial violence in America, a dark chapter of injustice. Colored drinking fountain, mid-20th century, an African-American man using a segregated water source. Jim Crow era separation. Little Rock integration protest. Crowds opposing black students entering schools. Arkansas, 1957. Refugees from Belgium arriving in Paris, 1914. Fleeing conflict during World War I. Families carrying everything they owned. Muhldorf, a Dachau subcamp. Rows of wooden huts in a camp setting. Memorial site at Bergen-Belsen concentration camp, where thousands of prisoners were laid to rest together. Hiroshima aftermath, aerial view of a flattened city with a river and scattered remaining structures, the impact of one bomb. Large plumes of smoke rising from a dock area, buildings and water in the foreground, aftermath of wartime events. People gathered at a memorial for victims of the Schofield mine accident in Utah, one of America's most significant mining tragedies. Memorial site at Stillwater, New Zealand. 33 victims of the Brunner mine disaster were laid to rest here together. A crowd with umbrellas gathered around overturned train cars and debris in a rural area. Train accident aftermath. Unemployed men lined up outside a soup kitchen opened by Al Capone in Chicago, February 1931. Thousands fed during the Great Depression. A man resting on a pier during the Great Depression, New York City, 1935. Abandoned camp that was used to detain Jewish people and those who opposed the Reich, now empty and silent. Chamber at the Auschwitz main camp, post-war photograph, Poland, 1947. A site preserved for remembrance. Aerial view of ruined residential and commercial buildings in the Eilbeck district of Hamburg, Germany. Royal Air Force Bomber Command, 1942 to 1945. Gate at the main entrance to war prison barracks at Fort Oglethorpe, Georgia. Double barbed wire fence surrounding the perimeter. Unidentified malnourished prisoner of war from Belle Isle, Richmond. Photographed at U.S. General Hospital, Division I, Annapolis. A malnourished Serbian prisoner of war. Photographed by an Italian in Austria. A record of wartime hardship. Prisoners transported to Dachau from another concentration camp. They did not survive the journey. Battlefield remains at Sidi Rezek, Western Desert, 1941. What conflict left behind? War of Lapland, Ivalo's burned village, an entire community reduced to ruins. Silent cities, typical British cemetery, 1919. Rows of graves stretching into the distance, the cost of World War I. Pile of shoes at Bergen-Belsen Camp, April 1945, photographed after British liberation. Each pair belonged to a prisoner held there. Survivors searching through a pile of prisoner clothing in newly liberated Dachau, looking for belongings, looking for answers. Destroyed church at Courcelette, France, 1916. 2 damaged walls remain among mounds of rubble. Complete destruction. Richmond Male Orphan Asylum at 1900 Amelia Street, 1909, where children without families were housed. Auschwitz I, the yard between blocks 10 and 11 with a replica of the memorial wall, a site where many prisoners lost their lives. Looking into a cell at Nuremberg, room bare except for watercolor pictures and snapshots defendants brought, safety modifications made throughout. Destroyed armed vehicle viewed from a corner house building at Marshalkovska 154/Królewska 35 streets. Wartime remains. Rookhurst School building in Manitoba before it burned down in 1941, once a gathering place for community events, Christmas concerts, and church services. Discovery of ancient remains with a wooden coffin during excavations in Kubet el Hawa, Schiaparelli excavations. Scattered ancient burials on the eastern slopes of the North Hill. A burial in a double vase, lower half contained remains, upper half served as a lid. Schiaparelli excavations. El Shat, UNRRA's largest Middle East camp housed 20,000 people in the Egyptian desert near the Suez Canal. Children bathed under supervision and watched Allied ships bound for Europe. Portrait of Sami Dora working at dam construction in the Im labor camp. The Ahwahnee Hotel's Grand Lounge in Yosemite Valley transformed into U.S. Navy's Ward A from 1943 to 1945. Recovering World War II sailors and Marines stayed there. American prisoners of war receiving proper treatment, a contrast to the difficult conditions faced under North Korean forces. A freed laborer among prisoners liberated by 3rd Armored Division, identifying a former camp guard, justice witnessed by survivors.
Migratory Labor Camp in Westley, Stanislaus County, San Joaquin, California. FSA documentation of worker living conditions. 23 boys at Crumpsall Workhouse, circa 1895 to 1897. Children housed in institutional care. Group photo with Theo Tuvale. Museum of Ethnology, Hamburg. Pacific Islanders collected and displayed like artifacts. The Senegalese Village at the Universal Exposition in Liège, Belgium, 1905. Human beings on display as public entertainment during the era of human zoos. A phrenologist measuring a schoolgirl's skull, circa 1937. Pseudoscience taught in classrooms, reading head bumps to determine intelligence. A man clamped into a metal frame before having his portrait taken. Victorian cameras required long exposures, so heads were locked in place. A photographer appears to photograph himself with an adjustable head clamp apparatus. The device kept subjects still during long exposures. Johnny Baker, Vernon Day, and Sioux leader Shortbull during the Ghost Dance era, 1890 to 1891. Ghost shirts were believed to offer spiritual protection. January 4th, 1903, Topsy the Elephant at Coney Island, a publicity event for Luna Park's opening. Salvador Dali's Lobster Telephone, 1936, a functioning telephone with a lobster as the receiver, surrealism at its strangest. Tirpitz, the pig aboard HMS Blasco, captured from the German Navy after the Battle of the Falkland Islands in 1914. She became the ship's mascot. Dr. Degeler on the narrow-gauge train of the Bukit Asem coal mines in South Sumatra, August 26, 1926. Colonial-era industry. The Fort Room showing an old whipping post, Deerfield, Massachusetts Museum. Once used for public punishment, now displayed as history. 3 women wearing a kang in China, circa 1900. A portable wooden stock carried around the neck for public humiliation and punishment. Old Joseon Courtroom in Korea, 1910. A robed magistrate over kneeling defendants. Japan used images like this to portray Korean justice as outdated. A Boxer rebellion prisoner in Tianjin, China, photographed by French forces during the conflict. Maud Stevens Wagner, 1907, America's first known female tattoo artist, former circus aerialist who learned tattooing from her future husband using stick and poke method. A Victorian bathing machine rolled into the sea. used to preserve modesty as women entered the water away from public view. Hired dippers assisted bathers into the waves. Bell engineer Harold Graham demonstrating the rocket belt jetpack at Fort Bragg, 1961. 21 seconds of flight time. Prosthetic eyes, ears, noses, and face parts at 3rd London General Hospital. Early plastic surgery items used to conceal facial injuries during World War I. The Dinosphere, a petrol-driven mono-wheel vehicle tested at Weston-super-Mare, England, February 1932. Inventor John Archibald Purvis's son behind the wheel.
A soldier sitting and cleaning mud off his rifle, Western Front. His beard suggests he had been in the trenches for several days. A boy holding a stuffed animal amid ruins after German aerial bombing of London, 1945. His mother, father, and brother all lost beneath the rubble. Early cotton factories in England employed very young orphaned children under severe conditions. The first Factory Act in 1802 aimed to protect them by limiting hours and banning night work. A wounded American soldier at Military Hospital No. 5 at Auteuil, an American Red Cross nurse's aide and a Boy Scout attending to his comfort. German prisoners walking behind barbed wire in the North African desert, June 2, 1942. French refugee children at Grande Val, near Paris, living at an American Red Cross home during the First World War. A soldier writing what may be his final letter, World War I. A girl and her grandmother waiting in a schoolyard in Saint-Pois, Normandy, France, August 10, 1944, refugees fleeing the final battle for Normandy. Nagasaki, after the bombing, 1945.